Alright, we're starting off with Warrior for the Fight Club boys. First we're going to Invis Pot past this first pack, lesser or normal, it's fine, it doesn't matter. Next we're going to throw a grenade at the 2 or 3 gnomes in the middle of this pack, then activate Rocket Boots, then activate Cloaking Device. Right after those Rocket Boots wear off, we're going to use the nifty Stopwatch, and we're going to Belt Stun the last pack and Piercing Howl them. Then Shield Wall the energy sap that the gnomes are channeling on you, which is going to flood you with Rage, which we're going to use to fuel more Piercing Howls. If you don't want to spec into Piercing Howl, that's okay, just have a Warlock Soulstone you and do it the Warlock way. This last part can get pretty scary, but just wait for the trash bots to get in range and then howl them to slow them. More HP makes this a lot easier, and you'll have way more HP than this 3k gear scored alt whenever you do this, especially if you have raid buffs on. I thought that Warrior would be a lot more difficult, but I did this on the first try. It is a lot of stuff to get, but the more consumes you use, the safer it'll be. Alright, now we're doing Priests, another difficult class. We're going to do the same thing as the Warrior, but we also brought a Skull of Impending Doom for the last pack since we can't spam slow them with Piercing Howl. This technique makes the second pack extremely safe, but adds a lot of danger to the third pack since you don't have your Rocket Boots anymore. We're throwing the grenade to stun the gnomes for 3 seconds so they can't break our invisibility. I used the Skull first instead of the Stopwatch to try and LOS the gnomes before they can energy sap me, and it doesn't work. And I actually get a resist on the NG belt here, which I didn't know could happen, so this trash bot beats me up the whole time. Luckily, Dispersion saves the day, and I didn't even have to use Shadow Fiend and Fade to drop aggro. I still threw it out at the end because why not, but I didn't really need it. Overall, this method is pretty easy. You just need 2 speed increases or a Soul Stone for that last pack, and the Soul Stone's probably easier to get. Alright, now for the Death Knight. DK was extremely tricky, and I think this might be the worst class of all of them. You really just have almost nothing that helps for this. It's business as usual for the first 2 packs, but before we go into the second one, we're going to want to get some Runic Power first. So that way we can cast Hungering Cold, which requires 40 Runic Power. There is a Glyph of Hungering Cold that makes it free, but I think having to spec in the Hungering Cold alone is bad enough. There's also some talents that slow stuff that can be really helpful, but this is just a really tough one. I really recommend a Soulstone for this. If you're doing this on a Death Knight, you must be really desperate, so losing that 1 point in your Frost spec really isn't that bad. And it just makes this so extremely free. I mean, look at this. Look at how much time it bought us. Like, we are just completely safe here. I tried out a ton of stuff to make it easier, like trying to use the ghouls or army somehow, and they honestly just kind of make it worse because they blow up the boom bots. Moving on to the Shaman. You might think the Shaman is really easy because of Reincarnate, and you're wrong. I didn't even have to use Reincarnate. The key thing that the Shaman has that makes this really easy is Spirit Wolves. The Spirit Wolves ability, Spirit Walk, which increases your speed, is super good here. I didn't need a Stopwatch or a Skull of Impending Doom on this guy at all. They'll also jump on everything and hold aggro and tank it so that you can just sprint on through like a bandit. On top of that, you can also drop an Earthbind totem while you're running through. You could even do a grounding totem, but I didn't think about that while I was doing it. But look how easy this is. I just sprinted right through this hallway. This one was honestly kind of a lot of fun, and I also got it on the first try. Might be a lot weirder as Ellie or Resto, but you could always just die and reincarnate to drop aggro, and I didn't even summon an Earth Elemental here, so you could also use that to make it a little bit easier. For Pally, a lot of people think it's super easy, but even with Bubble, it's not that straightforward. I tried to use as little as possible to get through here, mostly because I didn't want to do the Skull of Impending Doom quest chain again. So I just did the entire thing with the normal setup, just Invis Pot, into Grenade, Boots, Cloaking Device, into Stopwatch, NG Belt, and then used the Divine Sacrifice for the 20% damage reduction, Divine Favor, and Holy Shock to heal myself a little bit, so that way I could live through the energy sap that the gnomes are channeling on me. The energy sap does 2k arcane damage every second for 6 seconds, so 2 beams will do 24k damage total, which you might be able to live through with Ulduar gear and full buffs, but not on these budget alts. And then I just bubbled as late as I could to squeeze onto the train in time. I've seen other people do it on a Pally a lot different ways that might be easier, but I'm no Paladin expert, so I just use the same method as all the other characters. Now we're moving into the classes that have a lot more tools to make this an easier time. Druid has stealth, so you don't need to worry about using Invis Pot at all, which you should avoid if you can because it puts all your potions on a 10-minute cooldown, which is for sure to cost you resources on the next fight. Luckily, the best time to actually do this trash skip now is while your group is killing the Hodier hallway trash. And since Hodier doesn't count for all-stars on Warcraft logs anymore, it's not that big of a grief, but I still like to avoid using the Invis Pot if at all possible. I only have to use Cat Form Sprint, the Grenade, Cloaking Device, rocket boots, and bark skin to make this easier, and it's a cakewalk, or catwalk I guess. I learned while doing this that you can throw grenades in cat form, which is cool. I wasn't really sure how that would work whenever I was planning this out, but this one's pretty easy. Also, the grenades that I'm using are adamantite grenades, which you get from leveling up engineering, so I had a lot of them, and they stun for 3 seconds. Alright, the next one's Warlock. You're not going to want to have your pet out for this one because he doesn't go invisible with you when you take the invis pot, so he just kind of dies. I'm sure you're starting to sense a pattern here, so we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing again on the first 2 packs, but since I don't have another speed increase on this character, instead of outrunning the trash bots and boom bots at the end, I just die and take a soul stone, which you can do on any character. You can get a soul stone on, and it's just really nice. It cuts down on the consumes and stuff that you have to bring. So if you want to do the skip on an unusual class, just ask one of your warlocks for one, so you don't have to put in a ton of extra work. Since warlocks can just put a soul stone on themselves, I figured it would be okay to use it in the video. I pop meta and use a health stone to try and live a little bit longer, but you could also summon an infernal on the last pack. Summoning an inferno stuns everything that you hit with it for 2 seconds. It is a 1.5 second cast, but it will soak up some of the damage for you. Mage has so many amazing tools for this, but you just don't need them all. First, to avoid that Invispot 10-minute cooldown, I'm just going to use the invisibility spell to run right through this first pack. You could Invispot this and then use the Invis spell after you stun the 3rd pack and then make it super brain dead, because you'll just vanish and leave combat after you run through the hallway, but I tried to use as little consumes as possible. Doing the same thing for pack 2 and pack 3, except for we're going to blink right after stunning the 3rd pack. Do not, and I repeat, do not Frost Nova the boom bots at any time. I don't know why, but it makes them instantly explode. You'd also go Frost and summon a Water Elemental to use Freeze on the whole last pack, but you shouldn't really have to do that. I used the stopwatch, but I didn't have to use the Skull Impending Doom that I had on, and I forgot to pop mirror images. Just make sure that you blink twice at the end. Running from the last pack to the tram is around 25 seconds, so you can always fit in 2 blinks. Okay, revisiting the Hunter. If you want to know another way to do it on Hunter that's slower but doesn't use an Invispot, check out this video that I made about a month ago, where you pretty much just misdirect to your pet, and then all the mobs run to your pet, and you run through while the mobs are chasing your pet, and then your pet doesn't even necessarily die. Sometimes you just outrange it, and then it gets dismissed. I always get a little bit nervous before the 2nd pack, so sometimes I cut out the time in the video where I'm just anxiously sitting there in front of it. But I did the same thing here as the other characters, except I feign death and throw on some TBC rocket boots and then just wait 30 seconds so I can fly through that last pack. And I actually forgot to put the engineering stun enchant on this belt, but somehow I just run right through it and nothing hit me. The boom bots didn't explode. We were chilling. I also was entrapment spec, so I just dropped a couple traps and I was in the clear. Also gonna revisit the rogue here. It's been about 2 months since I made the first rogue trash skip video, and this is the way that I do it now, and I pretty much never die. I switch to sub spec, but you don't have to be. I just do it because I have it and it's more fun, I guess, because you get preparation. I usually don't have to use both the vanishes, 1 sprint, or the stopwatch, or the rocket boots, and I don't even carry around Skull. Rogue just has so much stuff to make this already so easy that you just fly through it. I'm also a top 100 parsing combat rogue, so if you guys need any help with your parses, there's a link for coaching in the description, by the way. But if you are a non-stealth class and the Titan Keeper trash is still up, you can use the longer 18-second Invispot along with activating TBC rocket boots before you take the Invispot to make skipping both of those really easy. You can actually activate either version of rocket boots and then switch them to the other and still keep the buff and start the 30-second timer for the other boots. I usually save the stopwatch for running off the tram, and then I use the TBC rocket boots to jump off the Mimiron stairs and use the parachute cloak just because it's really fun. Although if you don't have a way to reset him, or another speed increase to run out of the Mimiron room real quick so that way you don't die, you should probably save it for that. But like I said, the best time to do this now is during the Hodier trash, and there's no teleport to Hodier, so you're just going to get Warlock summoned either way. So that's every class, guys. You can get the pattern for the Gnomish cloaking device from the basement of Ravenholt, but the item is BOE. It doesn't require Gnomish engineering, so they're really nice to have. You can buy them on the auction house. You can of course get the nifty stopwatch and the Skull of Impending Doom from Quest in the Badlands. And I also wanted to take a moment to say thank you. I really appreciate the support that this channel's gotten, and I'm really lucky and thankful to have something to work on that other people appreciate so much. So thank you guys so much for the support. Be sure to check out the other videos and subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.